Yeah, coming to you from Australia, the land down under, full of crisis actors, I'm sure, for Revolution Radio on Revolution.radio. Home to ideas, which may be fresh, slightly rancid. Nah, it's some pretty good ideas. Chat room is awesome. You should go in the chat room. I'm there. I think Dave is there.
Yep.
Dave is there. That's good. Importantly, though, this is Listener Funded Radio, which means that you, dear listener, are funding the radio station that you're listening to right now. So, if you can, please do any kind of currency, really, even fiat. And we're going to talk about that in a second, by the way. That's a bit of a minefield right now. Or crypto, whatever, all good. But maybe you can't, because times are tough and they're not getting any easier. So just tell people about the station if you could. Tell people about the station if you like it. Or maybe you hate it. Maybe tell people how much you hate it. Right? It's all good. It's all good. Just tell people about it. Hate, love, very thin line between the two. Today is the 2nd of July, 2024, which means a couple days to Independence Day. More meaningful now, this year, than ever before, methinks. We'll talk about that too. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere, or listen at home on a Grace Table of Digital Radio. You can catch us on YouTube as well, and Patreon if you like to. It's all good. It's all good. Why not go into the archives? Because that's where we are too. And they're free. Freelicious, another good reason to donate. Freelicious. When was the last time you got something for free, really? I mean, really free, right? No one bucks you, don't have to pay anything, there's no hidden catches, just free. And I'm not talking about the first hit from your drug dealer, okay? Because that's not really free. He says it is, but it really isn't. Oy vey. But you know what? Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave.
It's the Dark Joe.
Thank you, sir. For myself, of course, the rock people, and we like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. More important these days than ever before, really, looking at the mess we're making everywhere. But there's a couple of things that are really important to understand right now. And they only happened in the last few days. And by the last few days, I mean even in the last month. Okay, the most important thing that nobody really talked about anywhere, except Dave and I think, is the fact that the petrodollar arrangement has come to an end.
Yeah.
Back in 1974, Mr. Nixon, in his wisdom, decided to step away from the gold standard and tie himself to oil. And he arranged an understanding with the Saudis and Aramco that the currency to purchase oil in would be the dollar. Hence, our term, the petrodollar. That arrangement is now finished. Says you. That's interesting. Yes, it sure is. And still the dollar remains where it is. Let me just
doing its thing that it does.
Well,
it's doing it now.
I think there's a lot of propping up happening at the moment, because the truth is this: there's nothing that's holding up the dollar anymore, except for goodwill and a whole bunch of, like I said, dealings and in fact, there's no fluctuation at all. There's no fluctuation at all in the dollar. I mean, not to any extent that matters. If you look at the entirety of June, it's like compared to the Aussie, it fluctuates by 0.01 cent, which of course means absolutely nothing over the last month, right? And in the last year, fluctuations again. It's around the 68, 69 cent mark. I mean, it went down as low as 63 cents. But we're not talking about anything catastrophic. But the truth is this: there's nothing at all that is underwriting the value of the dollar except the U.S. government. That's it.
And faith, Mackie.
Well, that's it. It's the faith in the U.S. government. Absolutely. So, and I guess we're on the second point. Now, hang on. Before I go to my second point, the thing is this, right? If you tie something to something else, like oil, I mean, oil has value in the world, right? I mean, everybody wants oil, for this, that, and the other. And even though we're, trying to move away from carbon or fossil fuels, rather, okay, good luck. Not going to happen in my lifetime, but oil is a valuable commodity. And if you've got your currency tied into it, in fact, to the point where you can't trade this commodity in any other currency but the US dollar, you give it value, right? That's a good thing. By the way, in case you're wondering, that's a good thing. But that's gone now, right? So as Dave said, the only thing that keeps it is faith. It's faith in the U.S. government, in the power of the U.S. government to back its currency, and also, we've gotten used to it. It's been 50 years. I mean, the U.S. dollar has been the global currency for 50 years. Okay, 50 years. That's a long time. There's a couple of generations that didn't know any better. Okay. I mean, I was born into that time, pretty much, right? And before it was a gold standard, nobody remembers the gold standard anymore. You got to be old to remember the gold standard. You got to be in your 60s or 70s to remember the gold standard. Okay, and then the British pound, that was a thing in the past, believe it or not. It was actually a global currency, the pound. What? Yeah, in your grandparents' time. That's when. Even here in Australia, we had pounds and shilling and all kinds of things. Then we switched to the Australian dollar, etc., etc. Anyway, but this is really, really important for everybody out there. What I can foresee here, and this is going to be the second point, is that there may come a time when the US dollar will just free fall, right? Because right now, Dave, what's the one nation that holds the most treasury bonds of US currency in the world?
I think it's China, isn't it?
Very good. That's top marks for you, and not even a Pepsi question. 100% correct, my friend. 100% correct. The China is holding most of the U.S. currency bonds, and if they really wanted to hurt America, all they have to do is sell them all. Sell them all. Once you've got this massive sell-off, there's nothing else holding the dollar together, because it's no longer tied to petrol or fossil fuel, oil. Not
Plus, America has to give them money.
Yeah.
If you sell them back.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
so that's not a good situation. So if you really think out there in the world that China wants to hurt America, they could do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It might lead to a collapse of world trade, because guess what? They are each other's biggest trading partners. There isn't a single company of note in the US that doesn't have factories in China.
That's right.
There isn't a single luxury product that America produces that China doesn't import.
Luxury or otherwise, Mickey.
Oh, but especially luxury. This is the funny thing. I watched a documentary, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, where they looked at the trade between China and the US and how it changed over time, right? So the Chinese couldn't really afford to buy many of the American goods. They're just too expensive, right? And then sort of the economy shifted. A lot more things were made in China. Things became cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. And Americans would buy a lot of stuff that was made in China because it was cheap and it was, there it is. And most of the things now in the world, consumer products, et cetera, are made in China. Not all of them, but most. And at the same time, though, this was the interesting bit. At the same time, the Americans would produce extremely high quality, handcrafted, or a small batch or bespoke kind of products. Could be furniture, could be jewelry, could be artworks, could be anything. And the biggest market for that, for the American stuff, the high quality, handmade stuff, is China.
Oh, you didn't right. Throw it to me.
No, I wanted some points too.
That's fair.
China. So all the cheap stuff, China is being bought by the Americans. All the expensive stuff made in America is bought by the Chinese, right? So and see, I find it interesting when people talk about World War III and all these wonderful things. And in many ways, we don't really have a way out of the quagmire we're in, other than a catastrophe or a war or some kind of other major event. But it's not like China and America are enemies. That's just not true. They've got very, very deep trade relationships, massively deep. Right? And there's protectionism and some hoo-ha, sure, and Cisco and Huawei and all that. We remember that from a few years ago. But ultimately, it's a codependent relationship. Okay? It really is. And if there were a war, it would be by agreement of both. What? Oh, yeah. You think there's such a thing as a national interest anymore? You're cute. You're cute. So cute. No, there isn't. There's the interests of the parasites, and then there's the rest of us. That's pretty much where the world sits right now. But this is the second point, Dave, and this is more important. We did talk about it a little bit on Sunday. I think we might have. Not sure if we did, but there's a ruling that came out of the Supreme Court of the United States. I think it was 3-9, whatever the number is. There was 3 dissenting, and the rest they were in favor. Judges, sorry, Supreme Court judges. So 3 voted against, and whatever is left voted for it, which was actually the question, because Donald Trump brought the case. Can I be held accountable criminally for anything that happens while I'm president? So anything that I do as president or while I'm president, there's a difference in the language here that's important. Can I be held criminally responsible? And what they found was, well, whatever you do as an official act as president, you cannot be held accountable for. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, it comes down to the definition of what that official act is, and it went into some detail. Not only that, but also you can't bring anything like that as evidence either. Right? Not only does the president not have any responsibility or culpability, you cannot bring any of it as evidence either into any courtroom, whatever he says or does while president. Now, if he talks as a private person to another private person, that's not acting as a president. That's not, okay? Mm-hmm. But if he were talking to Mike Pence as the president and Mike Pence as the vice president, then that may be covered. And he asked Mike Pence to not ratify Biden's win, back in the day, mm-hmm. Right? That was really the contention of the court case that was held against him, January 6th, et cetera. But under this new Supreme Court ruling, that's fine, because he said it as the president to the vice president. So therefore, he can't be held accountable. Now, there's a massive issue with this. I don't think most people appreciate this. I don't think the Republicans in America appreciate just what this means. When the United States were founded, they were founded on a very simple principle. No person, in their day it was no man, because women couldn't even vote, let alone slaves, but no person was meant to be above the law. Nobody, not the president, not the vice president, not the judges, nobody. Everybody was under the law. What happened in Europe up until this point, and even afterwards, was that the kings and queens and nobility to some extent were completely outside the law. If you're a king or a queen, you do whatever you want. Nobody can ever take you to court. It just doesn't happen. It's just a thing, right? So you take the king to court. Good luck to you. It's gonna have him executed. Off with his head. But the nascent American nation didn't like that, so they said, no man can be above the law, or no person, and no king. There shall be no king. But in effect, and this is no hyperbole, this is no over exaggeration. This is exactly what happened now. This is what the Supreme Court did. The Supreme Court has elevated the position of the president to king or queen, if it were a female president. Okay, that's what happened. The president is completely untouchable, and not just Trump, any president. In fact, it's retroactive, I'm sure. So this is the thing. So if this were true, then right, if the world all of a sudden saw that the president of the United States acts like a king, and I'm sure if Trump wins, he will, then where's the faith in the whole system? The whole system might collapse because that faith, that the rule of law and the Bill of Rights and Constitution, all of that stuff right? That underwrites the American way of life, the American economy, everything that we think of as the United States. If faith in that is gone, if the position of the president is now a de facto king or queen, the system collapses, and with it the dollar, because nobody will want to do anything in that currency anymore. And that would be a very interesting situation. Now, going forward, so Trump may or may not win. If he does win, I don't think he's going to give up his position easily. And because he's got this ruling now, so whatever he does while he's president, he can't be indicted for. If he decided to stay president, to revoke the Constitution, to do anything really while he's president, as president, that's okay now. And I don't think people fully appreciate what that means.
But it's, Mackie, it's also validated that activity for the current sitting president.
Exactly. Now, Biden himself already said, I will not abuse my power, and I believe him. I believe that he won't. I mean, he could, under the new law, and I thought about this a lot today, he could tell a group of assassins to assassinate Donald Trump. That would be okay.
Or just lock him up in jail. Who cares, right? Whatever.
No. Well, he could throw him into. He could do anything he wanted.
That's right.
And the courts have given him that power. And I think, but this is the thing, right? You can say what you want about Biden, right? And he could be creepy old Biden. He could be this and he could be that. But ultimately, he's really an old school Washington kind of guy. And I really believe that he believes in the Constitution, he believes in the Bill of Rights, etc., also in the division of powers. He believes in that as well. And until Trump, we've never had any issue. We never had any issue, ever, with the peaceful transition of power in the United States. We'd never had it. So every president held to, you lose the election? Okay. Peaceful transition of power. Under Donald Trump, it was the first time that didn't happen. Okay? It didn't happen. And that speaks volumes as to what is to come in the future. Okay. Now, Biden, love him, hate him, call him whatever you like. I think he's one of those old school, because he grew up in that time, right? He's been in politics for 500 years, if not longer. And he will not abuse his position, because I don't think he's built that way. He might have many other shortcomings and failings. Nobody's perfect. But I really believe that he and the Washington insiders and the establishment, they like the system the way it is because it works for them, right? It might not work for all Americans, but it works for them. Certainly the two-party system that they have, the de facto two-party system, that's completely out the window. I think we know that now, right? Same here in Australia, in Great Britain, the old Westminster system. Anywhere where you've got a two-party kind of arrangement, you know that time is up. Because the world has changed. We are multicultural. We are multi-faction, multifaceted. There are many factions that need to be heard, independent people, etc., etc. So we are seeing the end of the Westminster system. We're seeing the end, I think, of the American de facto two-party system as well. Okay, but he will not go and have Trump assassinated. He could. That's the thing. He could. Wouldn't he? He could even say it on TV. I'll have Donald Trump assassinated. I'm the president, and I think he's a threat to national security. No problem. What these judges have given him is the power to do exactly that. But it is, and if he doesn't do it, then I think everybody will agree with me that I'm right, that he wouldn't abuse that power, Dave. So if Donald Trump turns up floating in the Potomac tomorrow, that's a different story, right? But if he doesn't, if Donald Trump is alive to contest the election in November, then we know that Joe Biden would not abuse his power that way. Right?
But where your argument, favorably of course, is hinging on the fact that Biden is still the president. So the panic stations, the panic alarm has been pushed in the Democratic Party.
You can't depose him. He may not be the candidate for the new election, but he will be the president until November. He will be the president until the next election. So he will be the president until November. There's no way. There's no such thing as a no confidence vote in America.
No,
right?
but they're talking about who is going to be on the ballot paper.
Yeah, correct. In November.
That's correct. Right now. And they were thinking about a federal position for Kamala Harris to get her away so she doesn't automatically become the president if they declare Biden to be unfit for the role. It's not a no confidence vote, but more mentally unfit. So
yeah, but see, in order to do that, see, you can't unless you can prove it in a court of law, which there really isn't enough time for. You can't remove Biden from power right now. Biden will be president.
Hear you. I totally hear you. I'm just putting this forward, is all. That they're thinking for the ballot to be able to have somebody else, whether it's they fly in Big Mike or right, and Kamala's got a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So is there someone else? Hillary Clinton, maybe, whoever it is. And at the moment, if they themselves were to, the party themselves, willing to allow him to step down, because they're talking, by the end of the week, this week, we'll know what their plan is. That's what they're talking about right now, the Democrats are talking about. That we should find out by the end of this week, because they can't let it go too long, otherwise Biden will still be on the ballot.
Did you notice? I watched the debate, and then I watched Biden at the rally the next day, right?
Oh, a completely different person.
Completely different, and I thought, what? Why wasn't? No, look, people said, okay, well, the debate
why wasn't that Biden there?
Yeah, no, that's right. No, but some people were saying as commentators, look, the debate was at night. Maybe he's not very good in the evening, whereas the rally was, at lunchtime, etc., etc. And plus, he just read off the teleprompter at the rally as well. Mm-hmm. So he didn't make it up. He actually read it off the teleprompter. Mm-hmm. But the point is that, I mean, you got to really ask yourself. I mean, who was that? Who was that guy in the debate? And then who was the guy the next day?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's really it's a really strange kind of thing, because it's night and day. He's articulate, he's lively, he's full of energy. He makes really good points. He even makes fun of himself in the debate, etc., whatever, right? And he's right. I mean, Trump was... The thing is this, though. He didn't challenge Trump on a single of the lies he was saying in the debate.
That's right.
I mean, Trump just made stuff up. But we know Trump makes stuff up. That's not new. No one is... Oh, what a surprise. What? Yeah. No. It's how it's his rhetoric. It's how he speaks. But, but Biden didn't challenge. He challenged him the next day. So I would be very concerned if I was a Democrat. I would be very concerned, because if Biden had been as lucid as he was the next day,
mm-hmm.
the only thing we'd be talking about are these massive lies and falsehood that Trump was releasing into the air that night. But we don't even. It's not even a blip on the radar. Everybody's eye is on Biden and his complete. I mean, it was a car crash. It was a complete car.
Yeah. So what we saw was Biden uncovered, Biden unmasked, if you will, because there's an irony. So Biden uncovered is just that. And all the clips you see are the 10 seconds when he was coherent in the news. That this is, I think, the shame of it, the decline, watching that decline over the last few years of Joe Biden to the point where he's at today. And then whatever chemicals he was on the next day, because it's honestly not the same. It's not the same unaffected intelligence.
Not even close.
Not.
Maybe he got his lamb's kidneys or something. Who the hell knows, right?
Baby blood. I'm kidding. whatever concoction. This is what all the commentators are saying. They're all saying whatever they gave him, one either might have been slow acting, so it all came good the next day, right? Or he was on a different set, a short-lived set for the next day. Could have been a whole bunch of Ritalin, or Focusin if you want, if you're a Simpsons fan. But whatever it was, there was a marked difference between the two. Now, is this, like Mekki said, is this the highs and the lows? Do we see both of those? And if so, I'm still disappointed. If I was a Biden voter, there's only so much that I can give as credit to him on the low day. On the high day, that's kind of what I expect him to be firing with all cylinders. Given his age, I get there's a down day and an up day and a down day, who knows? So I think this is the reason why CNN isn't running, a 24/7 Trump lie program right now, because they're clamoring for an answer. What are we going to do? The whole world saw this. You've got to say,
right.
You've got to say, even the other countries are nervous now.
I don't think there's a choice here. I don't think the Democratic Party can afford to have Biden.
They can't let him run. No.
I'm sorry. I mean, look, this is now, because like I said before, if Trump gets in, he'll stay there, right? So if you want to preserve your democracy and have another election after the 4 years, they're coming up.
That's very presumptuous, though.
No, it's not, Dave. It isn't at all. It isn't at all. It's not presumptuous. Donald Trump will not leave office.
I'll buy a hat that I eat.
Good. You heard it on the air.
In 4 years' time.
I'm saying that Donald Trump will not willingly leave office. He will not.
He'll become a Putin?
Yeah, absolutely. He'll find a way. And now, but see, this is the thing, Dave, and this is my point. That's why I spoke about it for 20 minutes. The Supreme Court has now given him a way to do it. It's not even anything illegal anymore. It's not even unscary. He can do whatever he wants now. Any president can do whatever he wants. That's the point.
See, I thought that argument was so that he could get away from a few of the things that were trying to fight him on January 6th.
So, to be clear, his lawyers put forward the case that a sitting president should have immunity. That was what they said.
Yeah.
He should have immunity. And in my opinion, and not just me, but other commentators as well, his lawyers got a lot more than they thought they would. A lot more. Because what the Supreme Court has given them, as long as you act as the president in your official capacity, anything you do cannot be held against you. None of it. Zero. And it can't even be used as evidence in other cases, for example, right? So if you do it as a private, whatever you do as a private person talking to your neighbor or having
that's up to you. That's all on you, yeah.
Different story. But whatever he does, not just him, any president now.
Yeah.
Any president coming in now, and this is going to be repealed, will be able to do exactly that. Now, if Trump were to win, okay, and if Biden runs, Trump will win. Okay, it's that simple. If Biden runs, Trump is going to win. You will not have Trump leave the White House. Trump admires both Putin and the Kim dynasty in North Korea, because they found ways to stay in power, and Putin did it not illegally either. He used all the systems available to him within the Russian system. So he's not there illegally. He did everything. He went from prime minister to president to something else, and then he did this and the other. Trump will do exactly the same. Now, different mechanisms, right? He can invent a few if he wants to. Because I guarantee you, he will not be removed from the White House in 4 years' time if he wins. It's not going to happen. He will be there. And that could very well be a trigger for a civil war. Okay? Because that's coming. Right? He will not leave. He will not. He will not give up power. Not going to happen.
See, the Jan 6 thing is still trying to hang on him, right?
Yeah, that's finished. That's done.
No, there's still talk about it, and
Oh yeah.
one of those things was Trump has in his favor is he advised Pelosi to put the National Guard up, and she said no. She said no,
So,
and Twitter cut him off, delayed his tweets by 4 hours or something, and all the things that he was saying live weren't being shown to anybody. And so those are really powerful things. And then of course there was the Pelosi witch hunt against Trump, and he called, he didn't believe the outcome of the election, and kind of rightly so. I think everything should be fair, and I agree with his statement. I'm not saying I'm a Trump fan, just not. But I would not enjoy it if Trump went rogue. I don't think America would enjoy that at all.
It's not going to go rogue, Dave.
No, I'm saying
he's going to stay.
I'm saying by using newfound powers to keep himself in there.
He would have done this anyway. I don't think if he were. I said this before. This court ruling. I said if Trump gets in. Remember, I said this weeks ago. He will not get out. But with this new thing, he's got completely legal basis to stay in power if he wanted to. He will not go. It's not rogue. He will always be Donald Trump. He told Mike Pence not to ratify Biden's win. He told him, don't do it. Don't do it. And then he told the guys on January 6th, let's help Mike Pence do the right thing. They tried to hang Mike Pence for his supposed treason, right? That he ratified the election. And not a single court in the United States, local, state, even federal, has found any voter fraud. At least not to the extent that it would have changed.
They didn't. Well, that depends on where you're looking. So,
no, but see, what you're saying then is that all the entire legal system in the United States, all of it, the entire legal system was behind Biden against Trump, which I think is a bit of a stretch.
Well, I didn't say, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Only within the scope of their inquiries. So
yeah, and nothing was found that was saying the election was rigged. Nothing.
I did see the footage of the boxes being placed under a table and only scanned against the rules, mind you, after the observers had gone.
The thing is this,
and that's against the rules.
Right? So the people had that in court. If there had been something, there were many court cases. Right? If there had been something,
I'm not arguing with you
then,
or against you here.
But it's important to understand what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump didn't accept. He still is not accepting the results from 4 years ago. He still isn't. And that is the big difference between him and any other president in the past. Now, back in 2000, when Al Gore had a pretty good case against Bush, they went to court.
It was a whitewash.
Because there were well, not really. It was a hanging chits issue, right?
I know the outcome though.
Yeah, most of the Supreme Court judges, they were Bush men. His father had put them in place. His son had put them in place. So they were voting. You could argue they were voting for Bush, and his brother. His brother Jeb Bush was governor in Florida at the time. And he was the governor of Florida during the vote count. And even though we know for a fact that if those votes had been counted, this was like a punch card almost, and if it isn't punched through completely, it doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
But if they had been counted, then Al Gore would have been president.
That's right.
But Al Gore, who had a pretty good case, accepted the ruling of the Supreme Court and goes, okay, our system has decided this is what it is. I get it. Fair enough. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. But he shut up after that because he didn't want to undermine the system, right? And I appreciate that. Now, I'm not a big fan of the system itself, but Donald Trump is not that person. Donald Trump will not accept it. Irrespective he was asked the question point blank, will he accept the outcome of the election? He said, if it is fair.
That's right.
And whatever. Yeah, but who makes the determination? It's like Occam's razor. Who determines what the simplest explanation is, right? If he decides it's not fair, then in his mind it's not fair, and he will accept it. How do you prove to someone that it's fair when that person has everything staked on the fact that it isn't, right? And therefore, Donald Trump was never going to give up the White House. I bet my bottom dollar on it. And now that he's got the law with him, why would he? Why would he be stupid to give it up?
I think if he wins, then we might see some change to the voting system, even though the votes and the way they're counted and the way the rules are separate in each state. And I really find it difficult to see that he could change it on a federal level for each county, right? But having said that, we know that big tech sent reminders only out to the left, to the Democrats, people who are registered to vote for the Democrats. It only reminded them, it didn't remind the Republicans. So big tech was also complicit in it, and we know that, right? So I'm concerned for America's fairness in elections. I'm always concerned about it across the planet, and if you have an election, it should be fair. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. But when I make the joke, a warehouse full of votes, how are they created or attained is up to your own imagination, and whose name is on the ballot, I wonder. So, if depending on which side it would be, I suppose, right? This is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm not at all. But is the system infallible? No, it's not. Even ours isn't. So, is it possible that it could continue in whatever poor state it is? Poor shape it is to survive this election and then the next one, for it still to remain fair? Is there enough time to make improvements? And they're good questions to raise.
Look, I'll restate what I said earlier, and I really deeply believe this. The systems that we have in place are no longer reflecting what we need. In America, in the UK, in Australia, and certainly some other countries. Other countries, though, like believe it or not, Israel. But see, there's a danger in every system. What we're seeing in Israel now is a couple of people are holding almost complete absolute power because Netanyahu needs them in his coalition. So if you form coalitions, you become beholden to minority groups, tiny minority groups, right? So we have to find a happy medium somewhere, right? But clearly, it is clear to me that neither the Republicans nor the Democrats, or here in Australia, the Liberals or the Labour or even Greens are capturing all or even the majority of the voters concerned anymore. Our society has become a very different thing. You have to understand, these parties were founded either 100 or even a couple of 100 years ago. And the world was a very different place. Economic systems were very, very different. The labor market was very different, right? The distribution of wealth was very different.
The means of advertising to the people was very simple.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, some of these parties predate the women's right to vote, right? So let's just be clear what we're talking. We're talking about antiquated systems. And certainly the Westminster system is completely broken, in my opinion, right? It just doesn't work. And people can't vote. In Australia, it's actually an interesting case. A Labour senator voted against Labour in acknowledging or wanting a state of
Palestine to be recognised.
So she crossed
that went against her entire party.
Yeah, and now she's exiled from the caucus. The caucus is the party room where they discuss everything.
That's right.
She's still there, but she may very well leave the party and become independent, like a crossbencher. So, and I think we're going to see more and more of that. We see more and more of these people that have to vote with their community, which is the right thing. I mean, the community got them in there, right? Or with their conscience, right? And that's a good thing. We should not expect our political leaders to vote along party lines only. That's stupid, right? What we're seeing though here, and this is the interesting in America as well. The Republicans are very happy because the Republicans they want to stay in power. See, this is a party thing. So if Donald Trump wins, then the Republicans have a Republican president, which is great for Republicans, right? But is it really the Republican Party that they all joined? Is it still the same party that they used? I mean, a lot of Republicans are a bit what's the best word? A little disillusioned is probably the best word with the entire system. A little bit disillusioned. And I understand that. I get it. It makes sense. It's no longer representing them. It's just changed. And you can't really go against Donald Trump if you're a Republican. You can't. That's suicide. That's complete political suicide if you're a Republican to go against Donald Trump. And so I could see Republicans, drifting away from that party. Democrats, they must be looking at Biden and go, this is not the guy. How can I support this party with this guy? I can't. He's the wrong guy. I can't. How did we get here? They would ask themselves. How do we have this guy who is 1,000 years old, who yo-yos in his performance, his cognitive capabilities are well below par, and I'm being kind here, right? I'm not a fan of Biden. I don't want anyone to think that I think, rah, 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 Biden. Not at all. In fact, the opposite is probably more to the point. But it's terrifying to look at it. So it no longer represents, in my opinion, the people, the system that is, or the parties. They no longer represent. So what do you do? Right? What do you do? Well, the answer is you have to come up with something else. And Dave, to your point, does Donald Trump have enough time to change the system? Well, you know what? I don't think so. I think what needs to happen here is you have to reform the parties, change the parties, start new parties, whatever the case may be. But it's not up to one president to change the system, right? That's almost impossible, I think, because the bureaucracy behind it is just too immense. It has to change naturally, almost like an evolution, where people have to realize that this system is no longer representing them at all. Right? And
do you know what's funny, Becky? How in the past we've both kind of agreed about that Simpsons view of politics, which is, you tell us, Quimby, right? So, if democracy doesn't work because it's only filled with people lining their own nests, eventually, then I don't think AI is going to get to the point in the next term of American government to just push itself in and go, you know what, screw the voting. We don't need voting anymore. The AI is the president, right? Is the leader. It's going to do a better job. Yes, it probably could. It probably could, and I'm not making a joke there. Becky and I both have said the same thing. Is the future of like an autocracy where it's just a bunch of commands that come out of government, but they stay out of our pocket. Is that where we want to go, or is a council of voting members rather than parties? Is that what we should have? It works well in some countries. Just one person falls out, the one that's been there the longest, and a new one joins. And is that good enough? I'm not sure. If you're not, just think about the economy of politics. How much money is moved around from an entity, giving it as a donation, as the party for all the advertising, the roadshow of all of those, the ticket sales. Think about all of the money that is the ecosystem of politics. Should it be there?
Mm.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Because look what it attracts. Look at the people, the psychological profile of the people that are attracted to be a politician.
We spoke about this at length. I mean, it's astounding. In Australia, we had the best case with, what's his name, who appealed, who actually, he launched a defamation suit, and then on the balance of probabilities, he was found to have raped the girl.
That's right.
What? That's like shooting yourself in the foot with a cannon. That's insane. But you're right. It speaks to the caliber of people that go for that kind of job. Parasites.
Do we really want a parasite to run our country?
They are, mate.
I don't think so. Right? I don't think we do actually want it. I think
that's where we are.
Want to be left alone. But that's what's going on. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's the parasites running the country. And again, if you're a billionaire, you're already in my bad books. I'm sorry, just that's where you are automatically. Boom, in there. No, and everybody who goes through the one thing in favor of Trump, and I will say this very clearly, is that he didn't go through the political system, any political system.
Yeah.
Right. So that in my mind, that speaks in his favor. Now his other motivations, we can question and we can say, well, is he the right guy or not? Doesn't matter. He probably isn't. But the point is, he didn't go through that grooming of the Washington political class like Biden and all the other. Pretty much, except for Eisenhower, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan. None of them really went through it. Jimmy Carter was a breath of fresh air. He really was, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, all the Bushes, they went through it. Obama, definitely. Who else was there? Yeah, Obama. Al Gore even went through it if he had won it, right? Clinton, the Clintons 100% in that system. So for the last 20, 30 odd years, the majority of people that have been in that seat were groomed in that system, coming through that system, right? They're connected, etc., etc. And Trump completely not. Now, that doesn't make him an ideal candidate, but in my mind, at least he's not part of that whole Washington apparatus, which in my mind has completely failed too, right? So, which way? I mean, so it's almost like you're sitting at the Weimar Republic, right? And you say, the Weimar Republic, the whole system is not really working, but do I really want to go with Hitler? I think that's a question you have to ask yourself. I'm not saying that Trump is Hitler. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is you're left with a choice, and the choice might not be a real choice. You have to choose what in your mind is the lesser evil. Okay, that's what you have to find.
Kang and Kodos, Mackie.
Kang and Kodos, like it makes a difference, right?
So I said that for a reason. Jimmy Carter had a UFO experience, but today is actually it's the 2th of July, says the image that I have up on the screen. I'm sharing this image. It's not the 2nd, it's the 2th July, World UFO Day. Today.
Nice.
And if it's as quick as the segue could ever be. And I want everyone to know, if you were after the acknowledgement by the government that UFOs exist, it's been and gone, and just go back to doing what you were doing. It doesn't matter.
That's right. It's already happened, everybody.
Yeah.
Already happened.
So,
good morning.
Good morning to you out there in eastern USA, having a nice cup of coffee in the morning. Doesn't it make a difference? I like coffee, Becky, because it turns off one of your receptors in your brain. I like that.
Coffee for me is I don't have it every day anymore. I used to have it every day, but not anymore. But when I do have it, I do enjoy it, and it has to be good coffee. I'm not just if it's undrinkable, I will pour it out and get another one. But yeah, I do like coffee. I find it invigorating.
I have such a strong coffee that my friend, when we went camping, I just made my coffee, and he go, "Oh, do you want one?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll have one." So I made it for him. And he couldn't drink it. It's too strong. It's too strong. And I go, well, hey, sorry, if you don't want it as strong, look, put only 1 scoop in, and that's all you have to do. I have what's called an AeroPress, and it's the closest to. It isn't the same as, but it's the closest to a barista coffee that you can get, without lugging a huge machine around and employing someone to make your coffees. I know coffee does taste 100% better than when you make it. Someone else making it makes it better. Straight away. That's
true, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So, and I'm not talking about the sachets that you empty and just put hot water in and stir it and you've got a frothy latte or something. No, I mean, ground beans. I'm not a snob, but I definitely, there's some coffee I just won't have. And I was reminded of this the other day. I watched a short clip of Joe Rogan, and he had some people on, as he does on his podcast. Very funny. He goes and takes a sip of this coffee and just goes, "Oh, who made this?" And one of the guests had made it for him. And he goes, "That's so awful." Yeah. And he poured his coffee back into the they'd made a larger pot of coffee, I suppose, right? And he just goes, Can someone make a better coffee? Can you not make them anymore?" And it's like, yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. I'm there, I'm with you.
I agree, though, 100%. No, it's just cool to do it on the air, right? They want to, yeah, I made it. Oh, it's the worst.
Uh-oh.
Shoot yourself. Go. What?
You're officially not allowed to. You got to take that off your PD, right? You're not making coffee anymore. Well, that used to be the joke, wasn't it, Mackie? So when you start a new job and someone goes, "Oh, can you make me a coffee?" You make them the worst coffee ever, and they'll never ask you to do it again.
Never again.
Ever.
In fact, a colleague of mine had this theory. Whenever his wife asked him to do something in the house, he would completely bungle it up, so she would never ask him again. Still married, surprisingly.
How? How is what I ask. Oh, yeah, that's good. I'm not employed, and my wife's been working and coming home, and in the morning she'll give me a list of things to do, and I'll achieve them. And I'll make sure that I'm sitting down watching the TV, doing nothing when she comes home. It's intentional. And she'll run through all the list of things that I was asked to do, and I've always done more than that list. And I suppose I get away with it, right? Because I think she's expecting that when she gets home, I'm still doing them, right? And I've had no time to myself all day. But as soon as that door clicks shut when she leaves, I'm doing it. I'm getting all my tasks done. And I think it's the only way to live, Mickey.
That's the best way. No, you're right. 100%. I completely agree. Get it done, and then whatever. Because once it's done, you're done. I know it sounds simplistic, but there's a lot to that kind of work ethic. Right? Putting it off, yeah, then it gets. You never do it, then it doesn't get done well, and it's just all over the shop. But if you just do it, that's the first thing. So I tell my kids as well: make your bed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Make your bed in the morning. I watched this long time ago. I watched this. I think it's
1 minute.
Marine Corps colonel, and he gives this graduation speech at West Point. And he says, make your bed in the morning. Let that be the first task that you successfully complete. And then let your day be fruitful after that. And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Alrighty, the music is coming. This has been Plato's Cave. I think we had a very lively discussion today. Of course, we hate all candidates equally. I just want to make that clear.
Sure.
Just want to highlight some of the problems that you might be facing. This station will have something awesome coming up afterwards, so don't go anywhere. Just don't touch that dial. And most of all, please